Welcome to the Schneider Electric ArcFM Silverlight video demonstration. The purpose of this demonstration is to highlight the functionality of the new 2.4 version of the ArcFM Silverlight application that we provide to customers of ArcFM Server. This is an application that lets folks get up and running very quickly and easily with the ArcFM Server product. So what we're going to start with today is a demonstration that showcases the new functionality in the 2.4, but also goes over some of the core functionality that the Silverlight application provides for customers, specifically in the electric utility distribution market. To start with, we'll come to the toggle layers button that you see in the upper right hand corner of the screen. The toggle layers dialog allows you to turn different information on and off on the map. So in the desktop product, we have the concept of stored displays, or different visual looks of the same information. The information that we're looking at now is the electric conductors symbolized by their type, whether they're in overhead or underground. The overheads are in blue, the undergrounds are in purple there. So we could turn that one off, and we could turn on a visualization of the data where we render the conductors based on their feeder identification, for instance. So here's the conductors rendered by feeder ID. Different visual representation of that same database. I'm going to go ahead and turn the electric distribution stored display where we show the conductors by type back on, and then show some of the other capabilities here. One of the new capabilities in the 2.4 version is the ability to incorporate Microsoft Bing imagery directly into the Silverlight application, coming straight from the Microsoft servers. So if I check that box, it's going to turn on the Bing imagery, and if I zoom in really tightly here, you can start to see more of the information, the higher resolution start to appear, give you a real good representation of what your facility information looks like relative to the real world. I'm going to turn that off and go back to the Esri Streets base map. And the next thing that I want to showcase and highlight is, in addition to the ability to incorporate Bing imagery as our base map, we also have the ability now to incorporate any kind of content from ArcGIS Online into the Silverlight application. So I've created an AJOL web map which consists of the Schneider Electric Weather Sentry dynamic weather information data. And that's the layer that you see as the fourth one listed down there. Let me start by zooming out quite a bit from the service territory area of our demonstration data there in Gainesville, Florida, and you'll start to see a whole bunch of weather patterns appear on the map here. So this is, like I said, dynamic real-time weather information being served up from the Schneider Electric Weather Sentry folks, our colleagues who deliver this dynamic weather information to utilities and other folks for all other kinds of applications. But you folks in the electric utility industry can understand very clearly how weather impacts storm preparation activities, as well as recovering from and restoring outages based on those storms. We actually have a very comprehensive application called Thunderbird, which incorporates this kind of information and application technology, which I would encourage you to look at the video for that product as well. So in addition to being able to turn on and off different information in the map through the table of contents here, we also have the ability, much like in the desktop product, to search for information in the map. So in this search dialog box here, we can query on various assets and facilities from our electric distribution network, such as our customers, fuses, poles, transformers, etc. But one of the new capabilities, in addition to those searches, is the ability to do a geographic address query, or a geocode. So we can do both Esri geocoding, or address searching, as well as Microsoft Bing address searching. So I can select that from the list here, type in an address, and when I hit enter or click on the magnifying glass, it's going to zoom me right to that location on the map. We can see pretty quickly here that 4270 Northwest 53rd Ave that I typed into the search criteria is where it zoomed the map to. A good confirmation from the AGOL street space map that we found the right location here. So in addition to doing the address level searching, we can also, as I mentioned, search on various facilities and assets in the Enterprise GIS database. So we could search on a fuse, for instance. It's going to zoom the map to that location. In addition to that, it's going to bring up the attribute information for that particular facility or asset that we found in this grid view that you see below the map, very similar to an Excel spreadsheet type view. So you can highlight that record, you could zoom to it, you can pan to it, etc. Some pretty nice tools. So in addition, as I said, to fuses, we could search on a pole, for instance. And as you find that information, again, the map gets zoomed to that location. You can hover over that facility or asset and see the attribute information in this window here, or you can see it in the grid view below the map. And again, in this grid view below the map, in addition to being able to highlight the record and see the attributes for that particular object, we also have the ability to tip over the data records and see related records of facilities and assets that may have some correspondence to that. So for this particular pole, here's the street light that may be associated with it, or that is associated with it, as well as the attribute information for that object. And again, there's the service point that may be associated with that and the attribute information for that facility or object. So some really cool capabilities for being able to quickly and easily query the information in your electric network based on a text-based search criteria. So in addition to doing the searching based on a text string or what have you, we can also query the information on the map simply by clicking on the facilities or assets on the map, the same way you can sort of in the desktop product. So in this visible layers pull down here, I'm going to select the electric facility asset information on the map because that's really what we want to query. And then we grab our identify tool that's toggled on here, and you can either click on the map or you can drag and draw a box on the map, and it's going to return in the grid view below the map all of the various elements that were part of that geographic query under that box. So we've got our underground secondary conductors, our entire service territory boundary, we've got a street light, a support structure, 2 primary underground conductors, and as you highlight each tab in the map, you can see the elements highlighted in the map here. And as you grab an item here again, you can zoom to that location, pan to it, etc., etc. And in the view below here, again, we can tip over these records, and for that particular service point, here's the customer info records associated with that particular meter, for instance. So some pretty nice capabilities for geographically querying the information as well as doing a text-based query on the information. So next, in addition to these ways of querying the information and data, we also have some pretty nice tools to mimic the functionality of the desktop product for doing electric-based tracing. So let me zoom out just a little bit on the map. And in this location here, we want to take a look at the ability to do a downstream trace, for instance. So say in this transformer here, we knew we had to do some work, and we knew we were going to affect some people downstream from that. And we want to identify who all the customers are. So one of the nice things that we have in the tracing capabilities in the new 2.4 version of the Silverlight application is the ability to show the trace buffers, very similar to the way that we do it in the desktop product. So you can give it the size, the units of distance, an opacity slider, as well as the color that you want the trace buffer to show in. So once you have that set, I'm going to grab the downstream trace, and I'm going to click on this conductor here, and it's going to go ahead and perform a downstream trace from that location and return both on the map as well as in the grid view below the map all of the elements that are returned as part of that trace, part of that downstream trace. So here's our 14 service points. our two transformers, underground secondary conductor, switches, underground primary conductors, and the bus bars, etc. You'll notice on the map we have what's referred to as clustering technology turned on. So there's 4 elements, and there's 2 at each one. If I were to zoom into the map a little bit here, we could see those 2. We see that we still have the 2 clustered there, and we could turn the clustering radius off so that we could see what are the 2 elements there. So some really nice capabilities for making the map a little bit more visually pleasing and easier to see. So for instance here, this one might make a little bit more sense. If we turn on the clustering here, we've got the clustering radius set at the highest. If we send the slider all the way back down to the left, we can see all 14 of the elements individually and where they are located on the map. And then we also have the ability, if we wanted to, we could click this Show All button, and it would show all the elements in all the tabs on the map at once. And then we could turn the clustering on for all of those, or turn it off. So I'm just going to show one element individually, and I'll leave the clustering turned on, because that seems to make a nice way of visually representing the map. So in the ability as well, we have to export the information in this grid view actually out to an Excel spreadsheet. So say we needed that, that list of the service points, for instance, we could export that information out to an Excel file on our desktop, for instance. And let me pop over here to that Excel sheet, and really quickly here you can see there's a list of all those service points, as well as all the addresses that are associated with those service points. And we could send some door hangers out to these locations to let people know there was going to be some service work done, for instance. So in addition to the ability to export the Excel spreadsheets, we also have the ability to do some redlining and mark up the map and then export that information out to a PDF, for instance. So if I come back over to this Graphics tab, for instance, I could grab a number of point, line, or polygon drawing tools and just start marking up the map for annotation to send back to somebody in the office, or to email to somebody else. So for instance, we've got an electric fault location here, and it was based on this transformer that blew, for instance. So we could put a transformer on the map. We could do some quick redlining to sketch around where the area was that we had the issue. And we could put a text note on the map to let the person know what was going on. And click the map where we want the text to go, select the font we want to use, the size, the color, blown 25 kVA transformer. And click apply, and we put that note on the map. We could also put an arrow, for instance, which showed where that location was. And then once we have all of our red lines marked up on the map here, we can actually publish this information straight back to an enterprise geodatabase feature class of the red lines for these points, lines, polygons, and text. Or as I was mentioning, we also have the ability, much like in the desktop product with our page templates, to be able to export this information out to a map-based view, which with a title and some text blocks, as well as the information on the map, and then export that information out to a PDF, for instance. So you could send this to somebody or store it as a record of the work that was done, or whatever need you may have for it. So we'll save out our test PDF, and then we'll see on the desktop, there's that test PDF, and there's what the export looks like. So some pretty cool capabilities and technologies inside the ArcFM Silverlight application to mimic a lot of the functionality that we have on the desktop application. So really, what we've shown here in this demonstration is a really powerful capability of taking your core enterprise GIS information and distributing it to anybody within your organization, given the proper credentials and access, through a web browser. So it doesn't require the folks in your organization to be GIS experts or to be ArcFM experts. It's designed to be a very simple and easy to use interface to be able to query the information, to be able to do some quick analysis and reporting on it, and to really share that core enterprise GIS throughout the organization. So, thanks for taking the time to watch this video demonstration. Hopefully it was helpful and useful for you. Take care and be well.